Does anyone else like a little bit of Age of Empires from time to time? Well, the lads over at Turns Discord threw a tournament game today. A couple tournament games, and I think someone mentioned that they didn't have anybody to cast it, which sounded sad. And I thought to myself, I could do that. So they're good lads doing good stuff for the RTS scene. So we are casting the tournament finals from the Turn Discord today. We've got MSNDK over on the HRE in blue, Nanayori playing Jeanne d'Arc in the green, Nomad is red with the HRE, Simo YT is pink with the French, and Super Oxide yellow with the HRE yet again, Ventus with the Abbasids on purple, Xlav on a teal with Zushi, and Chris looks like he's taken the Mongols out for a run on the orange. Now, this is a special format, so we're playing a mega random. We're playing Nomad, so everybody's out wandering around, building their TCs way too close to one another. And we've also got, I believe, a 10-minute timer. No one's allowed to attack anyone for 10 minutes. 10 minutes, no rush, just like the classic days. Let's see what we got here. Early game, you often look at the fishing as a prime indicator of someone who's going to get off to a good start. Now, I don't see anybody that looks like they spawned too close to one another. There's a bit of space. Blue and yellow here between MSN and Super Oxide are probably the most perilously close neighbors we've got. And then we're looking at people who've got water access. We've got some real nice, a nice little private lake down here for Xlav, some deep water fish in that, which are nice. Deep water fish, of course, refresh over time, while the shoreline fish do not. Nobody else is going to be in that lake. We've got MSN over here going straight into the docks. He's got himself a lake, though I wouldn't be surprised if Super Oxide eventually finds out there's a lake down there and gets in it as well. But being in there right off the rip is going to be a boost for our blue player MSN. There is a little bit of water in the back, but not much to deal with. The other good source of fish is really in the middle. And we see Nomad immediately starts a dock. He didn't even build his base there. His base is way over to the east, still under construction. He did not. His extra villagers haven't gotten back home. I guess there's a couple of them there. One of them just went straight for the dock in the middle. Meanwhile, Nanayori, who's actually built his base here, went for a dock as well, adjacent to Nomad's. I gotta think Nomad's dock here is not long for this world. Nani's probably gonna come at it with a bit of prejudice. But not for 10 minutes, right? He's not allowed to hit it before that, I think. We've also got Ventus, has made the long walk over here to get a dock in this fancy middle lake as well. Docks are so important in AoE because they're basically an early game second town center, right? It's so important to get as many villagers as possible, and when you've got your town center making villagers and you've got a dock making fishing boats, it's double speed getting your economy going. And it's all about scaling up the economy as fast as possible, especially in these 8-player free-for-all kind of matches that we've got. So picking up an early dock slows you down a little bit, of course. It slows you down in the short term, but speeds you up in the middle-long term. It actually pays for itself shockingly quickly. Just about anyone who can get a dock does get a dock, you'll see. MSN over here, looking like he's off to a pretty decent start. Okay, he's got a little gold to his west. Of course, this was Nomad, right? So people had to wander around with their villagers and decide where they wanted to drop. This is a nice spot here. A little bit of wood, some berries right next to him, a couple of gold mines, his own private lake. I really like Xlav's spawn here. He is going to cackle in the corner. Just to the east of him, pretty well landlocked and not exactly a lucrative spawn. We've got Simo on the French. He's got a little walk to his north to secure some gold. He's got some deer at least, some berries, some wood, but not having gold near your town center right off the start is a rough one. It looks like he's walking a villager down south. Maybe he wants some of that sweet lake fish, but he's going to need to contend with Xlav, who was way ahead of him on that mark. Right above him, Ventus also landlocked. Ventus has not landlocked entirely, right? He did run a villager over to the middle lakes, already got 5 boats up, getting some fishes. He's doing quite well on that, actually. He is the Abbasids, and he is hiding his House of Wisdom way at the edge of the map. He is a little bit concerned about getting landmarks sniped, which, the Abbasids always are in a big free-for-all kind of game. So hiding your House of Wisdom far away from your town center means that if someone wants to, run 20 Fire Lancers into your base to try to kill you when you're not paying attention, it's going to be just a little bit harder for them to do that. Up above him, we've got Chris on the Mongols. He himself has some gold, some berries. He's gotten some hunting going down. He's doing just fine up there. Starting to see people age up a little bit. Of course, the age up takes a bit longer because the nomad start is slower. Anyone that got going in the water is going a little bit slower because they put a lot of their early resources in getting wood. But again, that's going to pay for itself pretty quickly here. Nomad going dock number 2. This is pretty wildly aggressive. Does he know Nanny's here? Yes. He can clearly see Nanny has a dock here. He does not realize that Nanny's base is like adjacent to these docks, and they're going to get burned down in the very near future here. Probably is going to get a little more than he would have otherwise, since we've got the 10-minute no fighting timer. We do have Simo, the pink player, got his dock online down south. And there's not a ton of fish in this. I guess there's a decent chunk of shore fish. There's not a ton of deep water fish in this southeastern or sort of southern lake. Mongols are the first one to hit the feudal age. They are riding around gathering up sheep. And I think, again, it's the 10-minute mark that you're allowed to start fighting your neighbors. And what we're keeping our close eye on, I guess we've got Nomad and Chris here. Red and orange are rather close to each other up north. So that looks like a bit of a knife fight there, as well as the yellow and blue fight between Superoxide and MSN here. Both of those are the ones we're going to watch. Though, now that I'm looking at it, it is really just a stone's throw from Simo on pink over to Ventus on purple. Let's crack open the income per minute, see who we got here. Superoxide doing quite well on the food. He got himself a whole bunch of hunt, it looks like. And as the HRE, he's got his Aachen Chapel juicing that up. This is a pretty decent spot, actually. He's got himself a huge gold vein. Clearly a ton of hunt was around it. He's already managed to capture quite a few sheep. But he doesn't have fish online, which means he's going to fall behind. He already is, actually. If we look score-wise, XLab down here is booming. And I'm not entirely sure everything that contributes to score, but research or resources gathered certainly does. And he is booming quite well. Basically the most on food, basically the most on wood, doing just fine on gold. He has a ton of fishing boats out. Other people are a little more, there's a lot of fishing boats out in the world. Okay, some people are a little more relaxed on their fishing, and some people are going deep into the fishing. And deep is probably the way to go. Again, you're trading a little bit of that early tempo, but in this particular format, where we've got the 10 minutes of peace, I think going extra greed early on is probably the way to go, because you sacrifice that. You don't need that early tempo because you're not worried about someone fighting you for 10 minutes. My timer says we're about 9 minutes in, so we don't have too much longer to wait for the action to pick up here. Do we have people getting ready for military? We've got a Burgrave Palace coming up for Superoxide, so that's a yes on the military there. Burgrave is an unconventional pick in free-for-all, unless you are planning to murder a neighbor in the very short term. Regnitz is much more common because it gives you that long-term payoff from snagging some relics. Burgrave is the fast-producing barracks units because you want to kill someone as fast as possible. Looking pretty standard everywhere else. No obvious signs of hostility. People seem to just be leaning into the booming economy for now. Just some scouts getting shot. That's okay. If you ride your scout in and to get shot, that's legal. That's on you. XLab still looking really great down here in the south. We've got a lot of boats fishing this middle lake dry. I got to think that this is going to be a point of contention as well. Nobody wants to share the fish, and it doesn't take much to really ruin someone's fishing economy. It's sort of an escalation, right? If you get one warship out, it could kill everything, but then the other guy makes one warship, so this guy then makes two warships, so then you need two warships. So water fights can quickly get out of hand, and that often will depend a lot on who's gone heavier into their wood economy, because the ships are pretty expensive wood-wise. We'll see how that goes. 10 minutes and 30 seconds, and maybe we're a little off because we're looking at the replay. I don't know for sure, but I'm thinking people could probably just start fighting each other soon. Indeed, we see the men-at-arms already booking it over, just being printed out of this Burgrave Palace, one after another after another. They're coming. MSN's in big trouble. He's got an economy lead, but I don't think he's got any military on, not even a barracks or anything up. Oh, never mind. He's got his own Burgrave Palace. That's what I missed at the first part. All right, well, in that case, it is a bit favored, perhaps. He's behind on numbers, but Yellow's got to do the walking distance to get over there. I think he's ahead on economy a little bit. Huge food income for Blue right now. And that's going to power his... his army. Up here we see the Mongols immediately going into raiding Nomad on the HRE up here. Again, a big chunk of men-at-arms and a Burgrave Palace. Maybe I was wrong about ye old Regnitz. I would build a Regnitz if I was in an FFA, but the Burgrave seems to be the pick of choice. All three of our HRE have gone for it. We've got a forward outpost that's getting torched by some Keshiks. We've got some boats. Looks like, who is it? This is from Orange. A random I didn't even realize Orange had a boat. Orange isn't even fishing. He just made boats to mess with everybody else. Just look at the chaos element here. I love to see that. Down southwest, between Blue and Yellow, the men-at-arms dent-off is continuing. Looks like fairly easy, even though the fight is now in Yellow's base, not in Blue's. Meanwhile, some Hulks coming out from Nomad to defend the fishing ships, though he did lose some. It looks like maybe he got he got targeted by Chris a little extra there. We see a orange town center making a run for the far west of the map. Did the Mongols pack up and leave? Apparently so. Apparently he didn't like that trade with... didn't like the HRE from the Burgrave Palace. So Mongols have packed up their base and shipping it all to the west. Chris, affectionately known as Smeagol in the community, because he is hard to eradicate and known for hiding in the corners and the crevices and things. Classic Mongol play. You love to see it. It's always entertaining. And that gives Nomad a pretty safe northeastern side here. Are we seeing more conflict in the middle? Yeah, they're just docks shooting at ships. And it looks like MSN is finally overpowering Superoxide. The more powerful the fish-based economy is just too much to keep up with. Once it's had a little bit of time to cook, and oh dear, X-Lab coming in from the south with a steel chair. They're gonna battle over who gets to kill Superoxide, and Superoxide has nothing he gets to say about it in return. Nomad now going into some more ships. His Mongol foe has fled from him, so now he's got green and purple as his neighbors. Might as well blow up some of their ships. So we're seeing more and more Hulks come out. We're seeing demo ships come up. Warcog out over for green. I love to see it. I love a little bit of naval warfare. Yellow is not technically dead. Did Blue and Teal fight each other off? The yellow villagers are out in the sun, mining as quickly as they can, but times are going to be tough. He is in an unenviable position there. Meanwhile, to the east, The Ventus ram force is coming in, and Simo is in an incredibly... Simo's dead. Simo's in a huge amount of trouble, but yeah, Simo's dead. Unless there's way more than these 3 Royal Knights. 3 rams and a couple dozen ghulams is going to end this real fast. And it does. He's got an Age 3 landmark going up. The Age 2 landmark is down, and the town center is not too far off. Is he going to even... He's got a 13 villagers getting this up. I think he'll get that up and technically survive a little longer, but functionally he looks mighty dead. Early ghulams always very rough to deal with. Again, we've got yellow and blue fighting over, or teal and blue fighting over the corpse of yellow. Yellow can do nothing but hide in his town and shoot arrows at the 2 of them as they fight over who gets to kill him. And up to the north, Nomad's red army is finally heading in onto Nani's green forces. He's caught out a whole bunch of miners here, and he's chopping them up quite well. Looks like Nomad's boats are getting cleaned up, but he's here on the land, and it's pretty serious. Do we have an army at all for Nani that could fight this off? Ooh, that is a big old chunk of man-at-arms, and it does not... There's a couple of knights to the west. There's a couple of... Nope, there's pro-scouting going on, so... A lot of scout investment, not a lot of knight investment. We got Jeanne d'Arc here as a hunter, getting circle beaten by about 20 men-at-arms. And the Royal Knights come out to fight. This should be a decent fight, but there's an awful lot of Germans here. Going to be close. I think the knights are getting cleaned up, and we can see even on the minimap there is just a stream of men-at-arms coming out. The Burgrave printing them one after another, just headed west. We even just saw him switch from the men-at-arms over to the hardened spearmen, since it looks like Nani's going for a heavy knight comp. The spearmen are coming as well, but the men-at-arms that are already here are already continuing to just mess stuff up. That's going to be trouble. Superoxide's still alive. Simo is not, just as expected. Ventus, with his ghulams and battering rams, cleaned him up, looking like without much trouble at all. Nani remains in critical danger here. He has not been able to clean up the men-at-arms in his base, and there's a constant stream of more reinforcements coming. They are inhibiting his economy here. You can see Nani's not making much wood, making very little in the way of food. I don't know if he's got some gold miners in the back. He's managed to get some people out of Dodge. His only food source is on the water, which is not being attacked right now. It looks like Orange is fighting Purple on the lake. A keep is trying to be rushed up, but that's not going to make it. I don't think there's enough. There's like 1 worker here on it, and there's still plenty of men-at-arms. Crossbowmen starting to come out, but we still see the stream of men-at-arms coming. And Nomad is way ahead economically, I think. Well, not a ton, actually. Not a ton. Nomad's spending an awful lot here, and that's money not going into his economy again. It looks like Superoxide finally getting cleaned up. MSN won the struggle over who gets to kill him. Men-at-arms are now tossing torches onto the warcogs of Nani. It's looking rough, but we do see a pause in the stream coming out from the Burgrave as well. Maybe Nomad has stretched his economy to the breaking point here, trying to get enough men-at-arms here. Credit to Nani. He's sort of holding-ish, or rather not dead yet. We'll give him that much. The spearmen have showed up, though, which are starting to tilt the line against these men-at-arms. The dock's actually getting burned down. Nomad may have identified that that's the only source of food for Nani. You end the dock, and suddenly the dock is indeed ended. Suddenly there's no more food income for Nani, and he's going to have to differentiate his food sources here, and that's going to prove to be pretty difficult. We've got one keep down, a second keep down. He's not going to make it easy for him, but it's looking really, really grim. I worry. Ooh, we see the food income dropping. I worry about how much longer that can be kept up. And we've got, down in the south, MSN pushing in on XLav. A big force here. Bunch of horsemen, bunch of man-at-arms. A very strong raiding force coming in. And they're looking for stuff. They're seeing what they could find. There's plenty of infrastructure up for XLav. And he's got a ton of resources and income. He ought to be able to, you know, turn this on. Ooh, oh my goodness, these are Imperial Guard? Oh lordy. Oh lordy. The ultra heavy melee cavalry, the Imperial Guard, come out. So that's what he's been doing with his time. Teching up straight to the fourth age here, Imperial Age. And the Imperial Guard are going to be an absolute menace to deal with. They come with an outrageous 10 armor versus melee. And we can see them actually pretty hugely outnumbered and still manage to clean up this blue army sort of with impunity. Imperial Guard are a terrifying force. I think MSN's not going to be too happy about that one. That does not bode well. Indeed, he even had workers walking over to maybe set up some forward infrastructure, maybe set up some forward keeps or do something here, and they are headed back home. They don't want none of that. We've got the Porcupine here of a second keep up. Jeanne d'Arc Naniori doing his best to stay alive. He's gonna need someone else to pick on Nomad in order to survive too much longer, because there is a staunch force of spearmen and man-at-arms here looking for anything vulnerable. We do have another dock up, but they are coming to burn it down. Our Mongols are our Mongols with Chris are going through and burning down the ruins of Super Oxide's base there. Mongols, of course, get a little bit of extra money from pillaging, burning buildings and things like that, so you know, every little bit of econ helps. He is in not a great spot here. There's a lot of resources that he can sort of suck up, but he is... Oh, the Imperial Guard have made it over to Blue's base, and they are going to be a menace. They're just torching down the town center at first. Is he going to go just for the landmark snipe? MSN is also in Imperial. Also in Imperial is Ventus over in the far east, who is kind of scouting around with a Gulam force. It doesn't look like he knows exactly where XLav is, but he's about to hit XLav's base with that, which is going to be no fun. Might give a reprieve to MSN here. Nomad's army's pulling back for now. The Imperial Guard are just riding through MSN's base with impunity. Blue in real trouble here. I don't know what he can make that can take these things. He's going for some spearmen. Spearmen do get plus 20 damage versus cavalry, which ought to allow them to get through a little bit of this Imperial Guard armor, but whew. Imperial Guard a little lighter on the ranged armor, only 5 ranged armor versus 11 melee armor, so maybe you want crossbows, maybe you want handguns. I don't know. I don't know that I've ever fought successfully against someone who was able to actually mass a big chunk of Imperial Guard. Down south, the Abbasid force, Ventus's men, found XLav and ran into another mass of Imperial Guard. I think it's going to be rough. Gulams especially will do poorly at this because they have less attack, but attack, they attack twice, right? Quickly deal a second hit after the first one, but their attacks are going to be hugely mitigated by the melee armor. Gulams, not a great choice for fighting against ye old Imperial Guard. Camel Riders are a great choice, but there is only one lowly camel who's on the run. So more men were coming down, and they've quickly decided that's a bad idea. That's at least the second player that has attacked XLav and said, nope, don't want none of that. The Imperial Guard are starting to get a little diminished over in MSN's base here, but it's looking rough. The fields are empty. The econ is hurting. Nani's getting a bit of a reprieve, trying to rebuild, trying to diversify a bit. Got another town center up north. Nomad looks like Palace of Swabia is going up for him. He's also a bit behind on the econ side of things because he went so heavily into that aggression. First to fight orange and then to fight green, and didn't manage to kill either of those squirrely foes, though they're not doing a whole lot better than him. Orange doing all right. Chris's back's got a huge force working here at this, draining these gold mines. Still has a hidden deer stones way back home. And we see Ventus starting the Great Abbasid Stone Wall to try to keep out these rampaging Imperial Guard who look like they're headed west. He wants to finish off blue. We see him burning the chapel. We do still see the town center down. Does MSN have other landmarks up? Palace of Swabia is also getting burned down. What else has he got? Burgrave Palace, yep, okay. One landmark down, two more about to go down, and just one left. I don't see any way that he stops this. Blue looks mighty dead to me. MSN had a really strong start with a super booming economy. Managed to kill yellow and then poked the bear. Zhu Shi down in the southern corner. There's a Baochuan in the water. I don't even know what that guy's gonna do. He's just patrolling just to keep an eye on things. We've got a lot of walls coming up from Ventus trying to lay claim to some of this territory. We've got more town centers and a far northern guild hall. So Nani is trying to set up a bit more of a defensive location here. He understands how exposed this front base is. Yep. MSN is done. GG. The mass of Imperial Guard is just too much to deal with. And now I've got to worry for Ventus. Does XLab know where Chris is? No. He has no idea that he is just south of the Mongols. Mongols they've got a spearman and a crossbowman force, you know, it's about what you'd want to be able to fight. It would trade fairly favorably, but oof, it's a big old chunk of Imperial Guard there, and he probably would love to heal them up. They are expensive, worth their weight in gold. We're starting to see some walls come up. He wants to protect his backline here. Hey, look, there's a couple of Mongol pastures in his backline, speaking of. No ongoing war, people trying to sort of secure their territory. We see green and red and orange pretty equivalent score-wise, which pretty much indicates, you know, economy more or less close there. Next up, we've got Ventus looking pretty strong over here on the Abbasid. However, he's probably the next target for the big dog right now, XLav. Down in the south, just fishing all the water out of the sea. How's he getting his gold? I guess he's still draining some gold mines, but he's gonna doesn't look like there's a ton more in the space that he's claimed for himself, so he's gonna have to get a little more aggressive heading out in the map. There's plenty of gold to the west, where in the ruins of yellow and blue's bases that ought to be up for grabs, but then you're starting to get into Mongol territory, so we'll see how that goes. No more Ventus on the lake, a little bit of Mongols with orange on the lake, and it's really just Nani managed to get his fishing boat economy back online, looking pretty good. XLav actually doing fantastic, making the most gold income out of anybody, and I don't entirely know where it's all coming from. Has he got a bunch of relics? You know, yep, we've got pagodas with relics. That'll certainly help a fair bit. Zhu Shi just so strong in most game modes, and certainly when allowed to just boom straight to Imperial Age with an insane economy. He is definitely the villain of this lobby, and we'll see if people are able to identify that in time. I feel like maybe not, but we'll see. Anything could happen. Looks like we missed a bit of conflict up here. Nomad has gone in again with the Holy Roman Legions, And Nani this time, to his credit, looks like he has managed to clean it up. A big Springald force. We've got a proxy keep right on the front lines here from Nomad. But the Holy Roman Army gets mostly cleaned up, and we've still got a bit of the French left behind, ready to fight. They don't have a good solution yet to the keep, but obviously the siege workshops are now getting to work. Out comes some battering rams. There's a handful of knights around. We'll see who's able to replace their losses well enough. Jeanne d'Arc up here, fighting, but catching kind of a lot of strays now. Oh, the castle actually picks her off. That stings a bit, but... Oh, and down south we see Exlav is riding to the north. Again, just around just the perimeter of the Mongol base. I don't think he's noticed it yet. He is coming up to absolutely ruin Nani's day. Nani fighting for his life against a lot of forward barracks coming up. Nomad's going very, very all in on this push, investing a ton of resources to get this kill. And rightfully so, it would secure him the whole northern edge of the map. And wouldn't you know it, the Nani might end up killed by Exlav before Nomad even realizes he's under attack. I guess not. I guess Nani's got a guild hall way to the north, so there's not quite a landmark snipe. And people could see landmarks being destroyed, right? Enemy Teal destroyed enemy landmarks, and they the two attacking forces just saw each other. Nani can't do anything but try to hide in the northern corner. We see his army retreating back to the Hornburg, the last stand at Helm's Deep. Chris over on the Mongols, tentatively poking out, probably thanking his lucky stars that this gigantic mass of 53 Imperial Guards has ridden past his borders twice without even seeing him. Though it looks like they're leaving and maybe now heading down towards the Mongols. Okay, he has discovered him. He's been building forward towers around his base for vision, and one of the forward towers finally saw him. And he's retasked the Imperial Guard down here to burn some Mongols. He said he'll leave green to Nomad to clean up. Alright. Do the Mongols have what it takes to teach these 50-some Imperial Guard a lesson? Or are they leaving? They're headed back. Nope. Okay, so he's actually got the Abbasids at his walls. Abbasids pushed up, saw a wall, immediately started building some siege to get through it. And it's not like an insane army, it's mostly just spearmen. Just an aggressive spearmen, a handful of hand cannoners, there you go. Sacred sites are taken. Exlav has taken all sacred sites. There's one in the middle, and then there's two in the west. That's some weird placement there, but we are on a mega random, of course. I gotta think this middle one is not... seeing as it's actually behind the lines of Ventus, that one ought to be decapped. The wall is down. Mongols are battling. The Imperial Guard are home. In come the Abbasid Expeditionary Force, way in the back lines. Looks like they're just here to cause some trouble, right? It's just sort of the old recon in force, but they're about to get smashed into by the Imperial Guard. Let's see how a giant massive spearmen do against this. I think they're gonna lose, but of course they ought to trade favorably, right? And by that we mean they're gonna do more sort of economic damage. They're actually doing quite well. Actually, there was a huge ton of spearmen, and with the hand cannoners behind them, that's probably the ideal comp for dealing with these guards. My God, they're getting cleaned up. It's looking pretty good. Ventus manages to take down the massive Imperial Guard. Oh, you love to see it. You love to see... I don't know if this is necessarily David, but we like seeing Goliath brought low a little bit. Meanwhile, the Jugnu coming up as a way to counter this force. We've got some nest of bees out and about. Way to the north, we see Nomads laying siege to the last stand of Naniori. Nani's doing his best to rebuild his economy and his defenses. Down south, the tech switch looks to have cleaned up most of this expeditionary force. We do still have a handful of gunners running around looking to cause a ruckus. They're not going to make it home, but they're looking to cause some damage before they get there. Up to the north, a lot of red guys, but they haven't really managed to breach the wall. Oh, the wall is breached, actually, but they haven't gone in it. Nanny's Springald Legion looks like it's finally cleaned up. Does he have any more troops around? The infrastructure is very thin. A lot of his training is down south, not in the north, so he's going to have a hard time. Okay, he's starting to get some more infrastructure up. He's going to have a hard time rebuilding fast enough before the HRE hordes there clean things up. A single villager coming in to decap the sacred sites. Mongols just living the nomad life out west. Not starting a ruckus, just cleaning up some of the aggressive towers from Xlav, gathering up all of the resources they can, trying to build a bit of a war chest to work with. Indeed, they've got a war chest. We see them sitting on the most food right now. A tad light in the gold and the wood, but food's not their problem, at least. And looks like Xlav just rebuilding his forces, setting up some staunch granaries and farms, a big farm economy here. Maybe looks like he's transitioning out of the fishing boats. I believe once fully teched up, farms are a bit more efficient than boats at the end of the game. That might not be entirely true, but you also end up out fishing your spots, and then they can't sustain as many boats as they once could too. So it's not, even though it's renewable, it's not necessarily infinite as it once was. It looks like the end of Nanny up here, and indeed it is. The final keep falls. Nomad has gotten his kill. Now they're playing some sort of amount of points for their tournament as well. You get points for killing people or for certain objectives. I don't know, I haven't looked at it. We're just here to watch the game and have a good time. Let's take a look. We've got 4 players left. Nomad has secured sort of the top of the map for himself. He's been pretty fortunate that Ventus hasn't gone north. Ventus has been firmly had his eyes locked on the southern villain Xlav, who continues to boom and look quite powerful, though it has been forced to diversify his force a little bit after the Imperial Guard massacre. Likewise, we have a pretty diversified force, but still an awful lot of spearmen, because he's concerned about another tide of Imperial Guard here for Ventus. Ventus has trade up, has managed to get some markets in the corner, and where is he trading to? Okay, he's got himself a trade post sort of centrally located. It's not incredible trade, about 65 gold, but it's trade nonetheless. And honestly, he doesn't even need it yet, because there's gold vein after gold vein after gold vein in the middle of the map that he's managed to wall off for himself. 2 more in the back, right? He's got 6 untapped gold veins. Plenty of gold to work with for the Abbasid. We see Xlav looks like he's expanding westward because he is in need of some extra gold mines. Ventus sitting on the most gold right now, just a huge stockpile of it. He's the gold lord. How is everyone else doing on gold? Nomad's a tad light on it, and Chris to the west with the Orange Mongols doing quite well on gold. As expected, he's got, the gold reserves of MSN and Super Oxide, all the ruins of these great empires that came before him, yielding up their riches to him. He also is, continuing that old Mongol strategy of going through and burning down anything you could find, just for the little extra income of it. All these fields that once were lush and fed the people of Blue, now feeding the greed of the Mongols. We've got a little bit of conflict up north as Nomad realizes that Ventus has a big old trade route in his backyard. Runs a couple of spearmen in to stab some of the donkeys. Ventus cleans this up pretty easily. It doesn't look like he suffered catastrophic losses or anything like this. Nomad's marching his force back to the east. Let's check Nomad's vision super quick. Yeah, so he probably only relatively recently realized what was going on back here. He doesn't see the Empire. He's been very, very focused on his westward expansion. He hasn't looked at his southern neighbor much at all. We come back to the map here. We see Xlav continuing to expand westward, securing the resources for his future prosperity. Not conflict yet with the Mongols, so you got to think it ought to be sooner or later. Now there's no good trade options available for. I guess there is over here. There's a coastal trade port that he could work with. There could even conceivably be a market somewhere in the ruins, though those have mostly been burned down by the Mongols at this point. But you could set up a pretty good trade out to this this coastal trade post here, if you needed the gold. Just a little bit of skirmishing. Looks like the Mongols are just taking a look around the map, seeing what they've got to work with. So they sees the infrastructure up north. He sees. Oh, those guys all got killed. Or did they just die? What happened there? A big chunk of Teal's forces just died, and it looks like he deleted them probably. Is he just tech switching back into Imperial Guard maybe? A dozen archery ranges queued up. A lot of infrastructure being built. I guess we'll see what he plans to do with that extra pop space he just cleared out. And we see Nomad starting to march south now. He searched out west, didn't really see any trouble, though he is starting to get some trouble as we see. Oh, these are markets going up. I thought that was some forward military infrastructure, but no, looks like the Mongols are getting some trade online, and I would guess they're probably eyeballing that same coastal trade port down south there. We'll see. We've got conflict between the Abbasid and the HRE, purple and red, duking it out up north. A big old chunk of handgunners here are going to do wonderful work against the HRE. Otherwise, the spearmen aren't doing a whole lot other than holding the line for the handgunners to do the work. Nomad's forced back to the safety of his keeps. We got a keep up here with a relic in it, doing God's work for him. Just machine gun of arrows out of it. How is he doing up on relics? I don't think I have a way in this mode to like easily be like, this player's got 6 relics, and I hate having to like look around the map and try and be like, wait, is that a cathedral there? And of course, the HRE can put them in their towers and their castles. Damn, relics could be anywhere. Looks like still peace in the south. I'm a little surprised that we haven't. Okay, we're starting to see some movement from the Mongol army, but I was say I'm a little surprised I haven't seen them maybe more aggressively defend their resources here. But we might be seeing that real soon. We've got some Hui Hui Pows coming online, and we got the Kurultai headed south. That's not all the way south, I guess, just a little bit. He's still playing very defensively. He certainly was very behind in the early game, but he's done a good job of coming back. Managed to, by the skin of his teeth, you know, the Imperial Guard army didn't find him, or chose not to engage with him for a long, long time, probably when it could have caused quite a bit of trouble. And he's managed to really rebuild his economy entirely and catch up. He's doing quite well on the score. Ventus doing quite well as well. A huge gold reserve for Xlav now. Look at this. The workers are working. We've got 56 villagers on a mining camp being supervised by an imperial official, just sucking the resources dry of the dead empires that came before. Huge trade now going on with Ventus here. He's really gone heavy into the traders, but he's got himself quite a bank to work with out of it. And Nomad is a tad broke at the moment. He needs some gold. Working on it, but not with the same gusto that some of the other guys are. And we see the Mongols pushing south. We got some Keshuks coming down here. We've got a handful of bees an Imperial Guard over to defend the front line. Ought to be enough to chase these Keshiks off. They would have been better served just a little further south into this juicy chunk of villagers. Although there's a lot of towers around to provide places to garrison up those villagers. But the scary Imperial Guard managed to chase the Mongols back to their town. And yet again, the land is quiet and peace reigns for now. Mongols look like maybe they're mobilizing as a full force, not a raiding force now, marching south. Handful of reinforcements coming out from X-Lab, but he's about to get overwhelmed down there. My god, he has so many villagers. So many. He's gone incredibly heavy into eco right now. Super greedy play, but I always appreciate it. I always love the greed play in FFAs, especially if it's quiet. You know, if it's peaceful, then you want to be getting away with as much greed as you can. If it's not peaceful, if it's war, then it's not the time to be greedy, it's the time to punish people for their greed. A second line of stone walls comes up here on the northern border for Ventus and Purple. Wants to sort of dissuade that trade route raiding that we saw earlier from Nomad. Nomad spreading out to the west, grabbing mines where he could find them. Still a bit behind, though, in the econ side of things. Sacred Sites, trading hand a little bit. More Hui Hui Pows coming out. These are the super trebuchets from the Mongols. Just what you need to knock down these keeps, but he's being very cautious. He could certainly be bullying Xlav for now, just due to the sheer amount of pop space that Xlab has put into workers. There are at least 100 plus. We just don't see that many. We don't see that many soldiers around. He's moving to the west. He's got half a dozen Imperial Guard, 3 Nesta Bees is the entirety of the Teal Army for now. He's running very, very lean. And he's even poking the bear a little bit, burning down some towers. Are the Mongols going to strike? They're posturing. They're thinking about it. He's got a ton of markets up, but hasn't switched into caravan trade yet. Still peaceful, still quiet. Keshiks are going to go out raiding, it looks like. He's not quite comfortable committing the full force yet. And he is, admittedly, very low on gold at the moment. He's found some of the western gold veins he's starting to work on. But even though his food economy is great, he's got a ton of food, a ton of wood. If you don't have that gold bank and you get embroiled in a war, it's really, really difficult to replace your losses like you need to. So he's decided to take those Keshiks and start burning down some more ruins. And you could see everything every time he kills a building here. It's like, oh, there it is, 75 gold, 75 stone. He's pulling resources out of the ruins. There is a random Xlab villager up here torching down a market, just scouting out. The Xlab villagers are wandering out in the map, building their towers anywhere they can, just to get that sort of extra vision anywhere you could find it. And they're going to get run down and shanked by Mongol villagers. Okay, so not a ton of... I mean, Exos probably has the most vision of anyone. Nomad can really see the walls of the Ventus's Abbasids down south. He can even see the traders hard at work. Chris over on the Mongols sees a little bit... I guess sees a lot of Nomad's workers now pushing into his northern part, sort of grabbing the gold wherever they could find it, starting to put up towers into Mongol territory here. He also sees these huge masses of Xlav villagers running around, but nobody quite wants to commit yet. People are happy to sit back and continue to build the banks up. And the bank is looking incredible for Xlav. Ventus has got no gold again. What did he do with it all? He was sitting on the most gold for a while, and he's had these... he's got a lot of gold nodes, still sort of untapped. He's had trade running for quite some time now. He's got a hell of a farm economy up. Just kind of hanging out. I don't know what he did, what he invested all his gold. Maybe he just went across the board upgrading everything. His score is looking mighty fine, though. Gotta give him that. See, Nomads now looks like he's starting to wall things up. Getting the HRE walls to just help keep the peace here between him and Ventus. We also see Nomad claiming territory all the way to the west, well within what the Mongols already have stuff at. We'll see how that goes over. Mongols pressing, or not Mongols, Xlav on Zushi pressing a little bit north, burning down some Mongol stuff. But again, it's just a token force here. And the Mongols seem unwilling to engage with it. There's not enough gold in their bank, making them uncomfortable. And indeed, there is an incredible bank. This greed has allowed Xlav to get away with murder down here, and he has stockpiled so much. So the strategy is he's going all in on greed. He's just got 1 billion workers building up this huge stockpile of resources. I imagine once war actually breaks out, he's going to grab himself like 60 of these workers. They're all going to commit, ritual suicide. And no, well, let's say different. Let's say that all those workers are going to be promoted, as it were. They're going to be promoted probably to Imperial Guard and handgunners and other things. Because he doesn't need this many workers. He's just doing it right now because he can get away with it. Just some scout skirmishing. Nomad pushing in a little bit. He's putting keeps. He wants to get access to this trade port here. Pushing forward with a lot of villagers, at least. I don't see his... Okay, he's got a bunch of forward infrastructure as well, though not an army over there. I don't know if he has a standing army chilling somewhere. He may also have just, looks like, leaning into a bit of the greed, as it were, trying to catch up on the econ side of things. Mongols finally move out. They are not happy with HRE in their backfield here. They're going to do what they can to clear this out. And there's not a whole lot to work with here other than HRE villagers, so I would not expect them to hold this. Though, the barracks, the frontline infrastructure, starting to print out troops. See what he could do here. Do we have any proper... No proper siege to deal with this keep. Just a lot of Mangudai shooting at it. Now some hand cannoners shooting at it. A little bit of nest of bees. They'll pull it down ever so slowly. Oh, there it is. It's actually going down quite fast. Did something happen to it? Alright, well they got it. I didn't see what made it... Looks like it took a sudden dip there. This is our only conflict right now. Teal looks pretty chill down south. Orange pushing back the incursions from red in the north. Purple content to have 50 handgunners and a thick wall. Handful of camel riders kind of burning down some of those forward towers. Extra walls around the House of Wisdom. He does not want to be landmark sniped. The bane of every Abbasid player. Since they don't have those 4 different landmarks, they only have their town center and the House of Wisdom. House of Wisdom is extraordinarily tanky, but it is but a single building. Some of the forward towers being cleaned up by Ventus here. A bit of peace in the north. The Hui Hui Pao here. Maybe not that much peace. Looks like the Mongols are happy to clean this out. These all got... I don't think the Mongols burned these down, did they? Or did they get deleted maybe by Nomad so that they couldn't take advantage of that pillaging? That's quite possible. Mongols putting up some forward outposts just to keep an eye on things back here. There is a red palisade wall through the middle of these lands, though. There's no reason that that should stand. And the Hui Hui power sort of knocking some stuff down. We see the Mongols coming back. Just a very chill late game here. We're 55 minutes in. I can see on our time tracker that the game's only got about 20 minutes left, so things ought to pop off pretty soon here. Do we think it's going to be a wonder? It honestly would be it's a pretty good wonder spot for Xlav, right? He's sitting on a gargantuan bank. He is nicely nestled back against the corner of the map. There's no way for Nomad really to get to him. Ventus has seen to that. He would have to deal with a lot of pressure from the north, from the Abbasid. He would have to deal with a lot of pressure from the west, from the Mongols. And then whatever Nomad could eventually sort of bring to bear. But there is a huge stockpile of resources for Xlav right now. On the Zushi, the Teal in the south, and he's building up a force. Finally, a military force capable of actually breaking in something. We've got a bunch of bombards. We've got a huge chunk of Imperial cavalry, and there's some grenadiers mixed in there, some elite Jugnu. Let's go. Looks like he's going to see what the Abbasids have got. I'm excited. I'm excited for it. We've been waiting for it for a while. Let's see a little more than border skirmishes is what we're looking for. We want war. It looks like it's just about here. I gotta think. Any minute now. Looking at the other players, Ventus is hurting a bit on gold. He's sitting on 4,000. Nomad's got a huge amount of gold now. Managed to catch up quite a bit on that. He was hurting not too long back. Mongols are pretty good across the board, but Xlav's sitting at 30k, 40k, a vast stockpile of resources. He's got a nice clear spot of land down there that could hold a wonder very nicely. But it looks like maybe he wants to soften up his enemies a bit more before he goes for the wonder play. He's marching out. The bombards are firing at the walls. So this is really a forward wall. I like this. I like this a lot. This gives Ventus some forewarning of what is coming his way. The villagers run for the back, and he now knows that it is a proper army and siege force coming for him. This is a life or death kind of fight here. And now this House of Wisdom and this town center are looking perilously close to the front lines. Does Xlav know about it? The location of some of these landmarks and things. Let's take a quick look over at his view. He does not know. I mean, he knows where the base is, but he doesn't see. Ooh, he's breaking through exactly where the House of Wisdom is. Ooh, that's not ideal. Abbasid comes out on the western flank, pushing in on the nest of bees, trying to pick them off, moving in close as possible. But they get some real good shots on the gunners. To the east, the bombards are already in on the House of Wisdom, and the Imperial Guard are coming in. Ooh, this is looking real dangerous for the Abbasids. Ventus is fighting to the west, but really just sort of trading at parity, maybe losing to this massive Jugnu and nest of bees. A terrifying combo to fight against. The bombards are taking their sweet time, but they are indeed burning down this House of Wisdom. And after that, it is just the town center. Will Gondor call for aid? Rohan sitting quiet to the west, not doing anything. Up north, trade just getting established by Nomad. Quite a trade route up there. They're trading 82. Not super incredible, but that's still quite good. House of Wisdom is not long for this world. Is Xlav going to be able to push all the way in to finish off that town center? Ventus has a decent bank. He's able to rebuild and continue fighting this for some time, I think. I guess he's a little light in the wood. We do see plenty of spearmen and elite archers coming out. Archers to try to deal with these Jugnu, spearmen to try to deal with these Imperial Guard. Nest of bees are going to be trouble, though. Boom, they're dropping some nasty fire rockets onto the Abbasid army. But most of the front line of Imperial Guard have finally gotten pulled down by those spearmen, and we're seeing the siege having to back up. Looks like Abbasids are holding okay. We do have a stream of reinforcements coming out from Xlav. Local superiority now over the Abbasids on this front army. That looks like they're going to be able to clean up this force of siege, and that's going to be huge for him. That's going to buy him a lot of time, I think. Can he get this House of Wisdom rebuilt? He's working on it. He sees the danger. The peasants are being pulled from the fields, sent to the House of Wisdom. He does manage to clean up his front line. We've got a Mongol raiding force in here. I don't know what they were up to. Looks like they were maybe pillaging or causing some grief as some Teal forces chase them away. A rebuilt Teal army. Zushi rallying on the front lines. Not a lot of siege with them right now, but a whole lot of Imperial Guard and Jugnu. See how that goes for him. Peace up north. A lot of forward infrastructure getting set up to the west. Looks like Nomad is maybe setting his eyes on the Mongol lands. Mongol raiders coming through here, burning down more towers. Looks like that's what they were up to before, and that's what they're up to again. A big army of Zushi again coming out. Here are the force, the Nest of Bees, coming to reinforce. No new bombards for this force yet, but the Nest of Bees are going to reap a bloody toll on spearmen and archers. Oof. This is a massacre waiting to happen here. The spearmen we've seen have traded... nasty hits right off the rip. We've seen the spearmen have traded really, really well into the Imperial Guard, but these Nest of Bees are tearing them apart this time. It's a distraction. The Abbasid ranged, falling back to the gates, getting up on the walls. Mongol raiders coming through. They're going to see some of this at least. They're just burning down buildings for funsies. That's what they do. And we've got the flanking for Imperial Guard looking to get in the back lines. Ventus, very wisely though, has rebuilt his wall there, because those guys are about to cause some trouble. But nope. The House of Wisdom almost back online, or almost fully repaired, and bombards starting to come through again, which are going to work on these walls. Ventus macroing. How's his resources looking? Okay, he's hanging in there. He's transitioned out of his trade, and he's gone into workers on his gold mines. He needed the pop cap from all those traders, and he needed the extra income from gold gold mining rather than gold trading. Very, very wise. He does not have an answer for this mass Nest of Bees, though. We've got forward keeps going up to defend these things. More bombards arriving. It's looking rough. The Xlav bank is still superlative, incredibly full. And here come another... Oh, Ventus is eliminated. Did he surrender? I thought I saw someone mention in chat that there what might have been a disconnect. I would not have expected him to surrender there. Maybe he disconnected, which would have been a damn shame. Though things were looking quite grim, let's put it that way. Xlav immediately building a wonder. That's what he was waiting for. He wanted to clear out his northern enemy. And this is going to be incredibly difficult for the rest of the lobby to deal with. Nomad built all of his new military infrastructure to the northwest. That's no good. He needs this all down basically in what used to be Ventus's base. Oh dear. And we even see a force of Imperial Guard riding north to see what they can see. Now the Mongols are on the move here. We see a force of HRE villagers running south. They realize that they need to get their infrastructure on the forward line. You can't compete with a Zushi force, defensive force, by trying to build an army back home and run it all the way across the map only to die and build another one. But Even more villagers coming in. Not a lot of army yet from Nomad, and if these forward villagers start running into this scouting force of Imperial Guard, it's going to be a bad time for him. Is Xlav going to catch these villagers out or not? It's sort of looking like he might. Villagers moving south. Imperial Guard about to run into them. Oh, it's disaster actually. And there's no military. There's a handful of Culverins, but those are not going to deal with a few dozen Imperial Guard. Imperial Guard are just going to run rampant over here. As expected, the Mongols very quickly clear up sort of the frontline stuff from Zushi in the west, but I would have liked to see them do that a long time ago. We actually have a proper army from Teal headed out into Orange here. They're going to meet in open combat on the field of battle. A lot of nest of bees up here. See if the Mongols are able to deal with that. They do have a cavalry force to work on it. And they're doing pretty good on the front lines, despite a whole bunch of grenadiers there, too. It's tight, actually. It's tight. I think there's been some heavy losses on both sides, but they have not managed to clean up the bees, and the bees are now getting some devastating shots into the ranged forces of the Mongols. Ooh, really, really devastating. The bees stand almost alone, but have caused such havoc on this force. Did Nomad get anything up? He did manage a little bit over in the middle. His more for okay. There's a handful of villagers made it toward the front line. They are still being hunted by Imperial Guard. There's some over here too. They've basically scattered like rats and are doing their best to try to get some vision on the front line, see what he's working with. You know, he has not been south the entire game. He's only just now seeing the extent of the problem. Okay, so he sees the line, he sees the wonder in the back, he's starting to get infrastructure up a bit north, a bit north. It'll be a bit of a walk to get there. He's actually got a stone wall in front of him too that he's going to have to deal with. Sacred Site play is theoretically possible. Indeed, the Mongols have grabbed the 3 sacred sites, but I don't know that that's a good idea, because it just sort of incentivizes Nomad not to play nice. Nomad's only chance is to get in here and kill Xlav, whereas the Mongols could win if they just hold their sacred sites, but that doesn't help Nomad at all. Nomad wants the Mongols, Chris's Mongols, to come help him, not to sit back and hold sacred sites. Oh, it's tricky. It's tricky, because he's starting to fortify him too. He thinks this is an option. It's actually not an option, because all of the HRE infrastructure is immediately to the east of this sacred site, and there's not a ton that because it's even across the water from the Mongols. So if Nomad wants to, he could decap that 100%. It looks like he is still doing his best to head south, though. Mongols and Zushi locked in a struggle down here, but there's a lot of siege for the Zushi force and some very tough customers in these Imperial Guards. Mongols trading okay into them, but not making much in the way of progress. HRE pushing forward a little bit. We do see Imperial Guard up here. Did they get a boat? They did. Forward docks. Must have transport shipped some Imperial Guard up here. They're going to do their best to decap this. They might get it. They might not. I don't know. They're getting blasted by a lot of towers and a lot of Bauchwans. We've got HRE forces on the front line, trying to force their way in. That's going to cause the Zushi army to retreat back home. Mongols managed to hold this by keeping some cheeky villagers on the point, and have now moved south to blow up these docks. You know, it's theoretically possible. Sacred tracker, wonder tracker. 9 minutes and 24 seconds on the wonder. The sacred timers are less than that. Why does the sacred give me a timer somewhere? I don't know. HRE are through the walls, getting forward infrastructure up, running straight into the prime of the Jushi army who has retreated back. Mongols have followed that retreating army straight up to the walls. They're going to see what they can do here. 9 minutes until wonder defeat. It's going to be less than that on the sacred tracker if it actually holds. Looks like the Zushi army has fought off the front line army of HRE, and they're going to do what they can to try to clean up some of this infrastructure. More troops coming out of the HRE. Let's check some current resource banks. Nomad's doing quite well on resources, sitting on the most food, the most gold. Chris as well, over on the Mongols, looking just fine. Xlav, also fine. Everyone's got a ton of resources to work with. It's just a question of how quickly they can turn that into military might and get that military might where it needs to be. Alright, the wall is down thanks to the Hui Hui Pows, and we see the Mongols coming in on the west side. Though the dreaded nest of bees, and only the nest of bees really, headed west. Okay, we got a handful of Palace Guard coming out to meet this Horseman and Keshik rush. If they're able to get in and clean up these nest of bees, though, that would be really wonderful. But ugh, again, a devastating blast on the bees. We've got a lot of horsemen in on them, but Xlab managed to pull a bunch of his infantry and archers back to try to hold them as well. Bees are getting cleaned up, but so are the Mongol raiders here. Down to 3 bees, but just about cleaned up there. Still sacred sites for our Mongol friends, and HRE cannons now being turned on the wall toward that middle sacred site. So this is what you get. You get the HREs sort of taking their pedal off the gas because they need to make sure that the Mongols don't just win first. HRE forces headed toward the sacred site. We've got a little bit of infrastructure here for the Mongols, trying to hold this center point, and indeed he sees the danger. Nope. He has seen that he can't hold it, destroyed his towers and his infrastructure to allow Nomad to decap this, because he knows that the real threat is going to be Xlav here. He was going to lose this anyways, so you still need a guy in the point, though. There we go. He was going to lose this anyways, so they must have been chatting with each other. They must have said, okay, you can decap, we got to kill Zushi. And they've got to kill Zushi in 6 minutes. Getting tight. Zushi forces have managed to push the Mongol expedition all the way off. They are starting to print battering rams, but that's no good. That only works if you've got some military dominance here, and the military dominance is still on the side of Xlav. By Nomad's attention getting diverted a bit there, having to deal with the sacred, it took the pedal off the gas and allowed Zushi to turn back and smash the Mongol incursion. We do have a mostly fully formed army of HRE here, and a lot more coming out. They're headed toward the front lines, and we've got the Zushi army a bit out of position, but they are now, looks like, maybe turning around or just consolidating here. Do they realize HRE is here yet? They're gonna realize it real soon. And they're falling back, right? There's no need to keep pushing out the Mongols. They got to get back home and make sure that no runners make it through the wall. Whole bunch of Landsknechts, handful of elite spears, a choir of prelates here to cheer everybody on. Only 2 or 3 Kulverins to take these stone walls down, and unfortunately the time it's taken to get those down is buying time for the Zushi army to get back home. Indeed, there's a flanking force even he's sending around the back. You love to see it. HRE is in, not beelining straight toward the the Wonder, instead opting to work on infrastructure and fight the Zushi army. But the trouble is we don't have the Mongols here to help yet. Oh, the Mongols going for a flank around the Goats Pass. Oh no, unfortunately the Goats Pass leads to a dead end. Oh, if that was open, it would have been incredible. It unfortunately is not, and the Mongols have to turn around and go back home. Meanwhile, Nomad's HRE are getting slaughtered by this very, very tough defense from the Imperial Guard and a whole nest of angry bees. It's just been some pretty unfortunate timing. They haven't been able to go in simultaneously, right? We've got rams at the walls. The Mongol force is coming now. However, the HRE force was just routed. They need to rebuild. We are down to 3.5 minutes here. It's still looking very favorable for Zushi. Current resources starting to get a little tight on the food for the Mongols. Xlav's starting to get low, but he doesn't need a whole lot more. Does he even have any peasants? Not a ton. Looks like he's probably turned almost all of his peasant economy into military units at this point in time, counting on his bank to ride it out. Absolutely the right play. Managed to get the walls back up too. Ooh, that's tough because there's not a good way to get them down. There's not a lot of siege on these lines from the Holy Romans. They're headed east to build a whole host of battering rams by hand. Meanwhile, Mongols have made it into the west and are fighting tooth and nail, but at best trading evenly, which is really in Xlav's favor here. It's looking very solid. Wonder Tracker at 2.5 minutes. We're starting to see some Mongols just kind of like force pathed in. They just need a little more visibility, or they need to try and make a little more space here. Zushi sallies out to the east to interrupt this ram building, and the Imperial Guard are so hard to deal with. But looks like the HRE's managed to clean up the guard for the most part, but it's the nest of bees are now the other problem that are hard to deal with here. Wall is breached, and the eastern force of Zushi is killed. However, the western force has properly fought back the Mongols, it looks like. Can these rams and Landsknecks do it? They're trying to path down towards the Wonder. They've got 1.5 minutes. It's looking extremely dire right now. The troops are jumping on the bees. They need to clean them up. The rams are headed south, but there's going to be some reinforcements and some angry villagers with torches that clean up the battering rams. Chris to the west, starting to push his way back in. We see a steady stream of troops coming down from Nomad's HRE forward infrastructure, but a lot of troops still in here from the Zushi. With 1 minute left and still a lot of walls around this Wonder, I think he has held it. Indeed, the HRE forces are back. Nomad is eliminated, either DC'd or surrendered, probably surrendered. Chris is surrendered as well. It's Xlav on the Zushi. Tournament victory for the Tournament of Champions. Well played, everybody. GG. Zushi, such a menace if allowed to boom like that, and boom he did, just completely unabashedly. I'm definitely gonna look. Oh, I didn't get to see a score history there. I definitely wanted to look at how many workers he had there. That would have been good to see. That's it. That's what I got for you guys. That is a casted game of some AoE 4. If you liked it, let me know. We could do some more of that. I dabble a bit of AoE myself, so we could always cast more games if that was fun. Thanks for watching, folks. There's something a little different for you this time. Hopefully it entertained, and I'll see you next time.